Well, last episode went a little bit better than I was expecting it was going to. From getting one of the best youth players I've seen in the entirety of FM22, particularly with the club that we're at, to going on a surprise run and actually qualifying for the Europa Conference League by winning the random playoff draw thing that you get at the end. And that sets us up for a very interesting window, because I've just realised just how long the off-season is in Finland. Our next league game isn't until April. It's November. This is going to be quite a long one, friends. So grab a brew, buckle up, let's get cracking. As always though, if you are enjoying the series, drop a like. That would be super duper fabulous. I really do appreciate it. So, the reason I've come back almost especially here is because I noticed that our next news article was board set initial budgets, which is important. So we get to know exactly what we're going to be working with over the course of this. Now, we haven't really spent a great deal of money. I spent a little bit on Austin Matthews, but other than that, I'm going to keep calling him Austin Matthews. It's just going to happen, unfortunately. Forgive me. Maybe I can pay him in Leafs. But we should hopefully still have a decent amount of change to work with, particularly with us gaining some money. So let's find out. What do we get? And we get... Oh my days! I did not expect that. That changes everything. Suddenly, we actually look like a team that could compete. Basing on what we were expecting of £500,000 roughly, maybe minus a few transfers I'd already made, with the players I was looking to sign, I felt, you know what, we could build a side that could challenge for the top 3 this season. With this, I wonder if with the right transfers, we could maybe make a title challenging side. Shove a load of that in the wage budget as well. Pick up some good transfers, and I think we've got a real chance at actually making a dent in the league this season. I don't think we're going to win it, but I think we can close that gap considerably and at least be a contender. Given the way we performed towards the end of last season, we really were very good. I mean, that is exciting. I've bumped it around a little bit, so we've got 11k in wage budget, but we've still got 1.3 million pounds to spend. If I find some absolute gems, and the thing about where we are right now is there's so many more players out there that will be considered gems. From a squad depth perspective, we know what we need to do. We need to strengthen the strike force. They've done fine. Vastan's done fine. Ayu did okay as well, but I think Ayu could be better used in other positions. But we must remember, we do have some players already coming in, both 2 actual strikers. So I'm really not going to look at that, and we'll reassess that situation a little bit more once we've actually got the players in. Just trying to remember who we've actually picked up. But what I do want to show you is the guy that I've earmarked to be our left wing back, and I want to move on him quickly, just in case someone else gets in there first. So let's talk about that before we do anything else. This is he. This is Abdul Kulibali, 27-year-old from Generash on foot. I don't think I really need to say a great deal more. Now, I realise he has orange consistency and doesn't like big matches, but when you have an opportunity to sign a player like this for the price that he is currently available for, which would be free very soon, but I reckon if we dump a couple of grand on the table, they'll probably let us have Abdul Kulibali for basically nothing. And I feel like it's almost an absolute win-win for us bringing in someone of this quality, because obviously he'll never be a homegrown player, but he also counts as EU. And we've got to be careful with that, because obviously there is a limit to the number of non-Finnish players we're allowed to have in the not starting 11, but the opening 18. But I think that a lot of that's been filled up by the bench anyway. So I feel like signing someone like Kulibali might be a good port of call for us, and then just doing some more scouting, waiting until the other players join us, seeing what the situation's like then, and then moving from there. Now, there is the Finnish Cup, which has this big group stage thing that is played between the likes of January and March. That will be in today, but we'll sort of be glossing over it unless anything absolutely outrageous happens. Really trying to focus on transfers. But I think the first port of call is to just try to sign this guy, right? It has to be done. Okay, in the end, they've actually gone for 4.4k. Oh, I just don't know if we can stretch from our 1.3 million pound transfer budget to 4.4k. I think if we all club together, friends, we can probably afford him. Totally off topic to this, but I also found a player from Lesotho. He's on loan at the moment. He's wanted by Kongsvinger on a free. This is he. This is Horacio Masila. The only reason I'm even showing you him is because how often do you see a Lesothan player that is as good as him? That's amazing. And he is completely free, but he is 25. I just don't know what we'd really do with him, particularly as he's not really going to be great coming back as a wing back or anything like that, but it's just cool. I thought you'd like to see him. So let's try and get this deal done, and then we'll just sort of start progressing, see what happens, see who manages to join us, and then we'll maybe reassess things, keep doing some more scouting to try and find some more gems to potentially bring in. But we've now got money to the point where if I do find someone who's a little bit more expensive, I can move on them, and that's the dream. But even if I just end up going after some cheap guys and just spending a load of money on wages instead, I honestly think that could be a better use of our time at this rate. What? That right there is probably the dumbest thing I've seen in a while. Also, development since our last discussion. What last discussion? Minimum fee, £27,000. That is ridiculous, and it's locked in. I don't think I've ever seen an agent request something so utterly stupid. I mean, I still want to do it because he's a really good player and take the risk that we can just try and get him on a new contract after 6 months, but that is utterly ridiculous that an agent can actually request that from us. I've got him on 1.5k a week. My plan is to give us a little bit of buffer room, and after 6 months offer him a new deal and try and get rid of that ridiculous clause by trying to get him to sack this agent, because this is absurd, but I do still want this player, and I feel like, if nothing else, somehow would still be profit, but I really don't want that, and I'd much rather just try and get rid of the clause, get him to sack that agent, and then just try and move on from there, but that is utterly ridiculous. So the players we've got currently set up for us at the moment, they'll all be joining us on the 16th and 17th of January, respectively. So there's obviously the two strikers. There's Miller Afonso, who's here on trial at the moment. I like him. I think he's a good player. There's Maguette Traore, of course, who, excluding his finishing ability, I think he will surely have the pace to get so many chances that it might just not matter. That's my hope, anyway. But prepare for a season of me going, oh my god, Maguette, come on. There's also Austin Matthew for £66,000, who I think is a really good piece of business too. My most expensive transfer thus far. And also Ebenezer Poku, who I didn't sign up, who actually, oh, he's a 31-year-old that started off at Inter Allies, but is actually now considered Finnish. Did I sign this guy? I don't recall signing this guy. The fact that I have no scouting knowledge suggests otherwise, but what I would say is he can play right wing back. No, he can't, because he's got no right foot. Great. He's either a centre mid or trained to left wing back, honestly. And obviously Kulibali will be joining that as well. We're just confirming that at the moment. So that would give us barely any money spent, £70,000, and it would halve the wage budget currently, but it would leave us with loads of room to still spare if I find any more talent, which I expect to do so, but I do expect that really over the next month or so, it's just going to be mostly me trying to scout some guys, getting people lined up that we can go after in January once I've seen how the squad looks once these guys have joined us. I think that's got to be the play. Unless I find anyone absolutely outrageous, which, let's be honest, there is a good chance that could happen given some of the guys we've already found. I mean, I'm not being funny, right? But this is what our scout reports are looking like at the moment. Ever since I sent most of our scouts to go look at clubs from certain African nations, this is the gems that we're picking up at the moment. And to be honest, I'm not surprised. Because of the level that we play at currently and some of the quality of the players that are produced by these nations, it's really not even close to being surprising to me that these guys are coming through. I mean, look at this guy, Jean-Christian Conte. Oh my god, look at the aerial reach and the reflexes on this man. And the beautiful thing about a lot of these guys is as well, I really find that there's very little interest from other sides in these guys for whatever reason. I guess it's the scouting reach. So I think we're safe to keep a lot of these guys on the shortlist for the moment and just see what comes up. It just occurred to me, I misread some of those things. A couple of those guys are actually going to join us in November, not January. The guys that are on free transfers join us in November. The guys that technically have clubs, January. So we'll have a couple of guys in straight away, which would be really nice. So we're looking at this guy, Sauli Sorinen. He plays for a team called Musan Salama, who I'm honestly not sure. I'm assuming they're a lower league side, but I want to bring in some Finnish guys too, because we do need Finnish lads in this team. And I want to find some good young Finnish talent too. And I feel like he might be one of those players that we could spend a little bit more money on, but to bring in because he's Finnish. But also, I think he's got some decent potential, what we can see so far anyway. There's another guy I'm looking at from Grankula who would be available because they've been relegated, and they're both central midfielders, so it'd be nice to really strengthen that part of the pitch with some good, hardcore, young Finnish talent. So I might just put a bid in for this guy. If we could get him for like 150, I'd be okay with that, honestly. So it turns out that actually he'd be available cheaper than that. 93,000 up front with another 20k after 50 league matches. I think he's definitely worth that. So I've got Saarinen on a 5.75 contract. Not too bad. So both Miller Afonso and Maguette Traore are now here officially. A B- and a B in the fan reactions, which is good. I think Afonso will be a really nice deep lying forward for us, so that's really exciting. I think he'll do a better job there than Ayu. I think he's just better, more physical, but it also allows Ayu now to drop deeper for us and play more in the midfield, and I think he'd be way better there. And of course there's Maguette Traore as well, and I think if we could just get that finishing up a little bit and just make him a bit more well-rounded, I still think there's a cracking striker in here. And the thing is, with that pace and agility, he's going to get in behind an awful lot. And surely just the sheer weight of the chances, he'll eventually score enough. That's my hope anyway. And with the price we've paid, look at the value on this guy. And one of the other things that is kind of good about the Finnish league is that there doesn't actually appear to be any squad registration, which means that even if we were to sign a few extra players that maybe we wouldn't always be able to get in our squad for every match day, they wouldn't get upset at me for not being able to register them, because that doesn't exist. Meaning that actually, I think we could go a bit over what we would expect, just so that we have squad depth, because the players would all get plenty of game time anyway. And worst case scenario, if someone did genuinely complain, we could just sell them on for more money, I suspect, is the situation. So actually, I might be a bit more proactive on some of the deals if we can find any absolutely outrageous ones, to be fair. There is this lad, Mohamed Guiota, Cameroonian, plays for Apejapes or Apages. It just occurred to me, I actually have one of their shirts in my drawer. You actually thought I was kidding about that, didn't you? I'm almost certain it's the same team. Honestly, I'd be tempted to pick him up if he's really cheap just for that alone. And he's 18. 10k. I think I can stretch the 10k. As a side note, I've set a custom assignment up for my scouts to specifically look for players in Finland that are Finnish homegrown as well, because I feel like that's important to us, while I set some manual assignments, of course, that continue to bring through some of these African gems. Man only wants £275 a week. I think I'll probably do that, particularly with his contract type as well of breakthrough prospect, or was it future prospect? Either way, he's not going to expect to play either. So there's this guy here, Simon Schuster. That is an unbelievable name. Like, stop. I mean, to be fair, I hear he's a big reader. I think he'd be out of our price range in terms of wages, but I just thought I had to show you because of the name. Still going to keep scouting him though, just in case. Someone else who our scouts have identified is this guy, Christian Traore, 21-year-old Ivorian striker. I know, Ivorian striker, imagine, but he's from ASEC Mimosas. Just Wonder Kid factory, these guys. I think he'd be costing us too much, honestly. And I don't think he's actually maybe as good as as we think he could be, but I want to keep scouting him as well, because maybe if he's on the highest end of some of these, he could be worth it, but I want a full scout report on him. So some of you will remember Jorge Contreras, a guy I signed for SecondYellowCard not long before we left. He's actually available for loan, and he appears to have developed, from what I can see anyway, very nicely indeed. And if we could add him to our backline, I think he could be a really good option for us on loan this season, if they want to give us a decent situation on him. Except we can't actually do that until January because of him being on loan at Gimnasia, so we'll have to wait on him. But I think it might be a worthwhile loan if they don't want us to pay too much money. So not entirely sure what's just happened, but we had 500k in the bank a minute ago. We've just got our commercial summary for the year, and now that's shot up to 3.3 million pounds in the bank. So I don't know if we've just attained a new sponsorship deal that's massive or not, and we've got all the money up front. Also still kind of funny that my Irish Champions League challenging side still only gets 200 grand a year in kit sponsorship. Yeah, here we are in Finland on $1 million a year. Felix Lehtinen of Interturku. One thing I like about him is that he kind of does, I think he could, look at the sheer amount of positions he would have played in for Interturku. He's got nice physical attributes, decent defensive attributes across the board, good right foot, okay left foot as well. I think if he's available cheap enough, he might be a worthwhile pickup for us as well, just to keep building some nice Finnish core to this team as well. 145 grand. It's a fair amount, but we've actually got the money at the moment. And I want to save a little bit of cash, but I want to just bring in a couple more of these guys if we can do. 675 a week for Felix Lehtinen. I like that. Jody Kalala was released by SJK or left them. I don't know if he was actually released. It seems unlikely that he would have been released by them. It's more likely that he left. He does have low determination, which is a bit of a shame. But we've got him on trial. We might be able to pick him up on a free transfer, and I quite like some of his attributes. It's just that low determination doesn't exactly fill me with confidence. But I think he's okay, actually. But we'll see what he's like once he's a bit more scout. We've got him on a 3-week trial anyway. Okay, managed to find another one. Mohammed Adams from Tamer Youth here in Ghana. We love a bit of Ghana in this team, and I mean, look at the mentals on him. Physicals are great as well. It's another sort of ball. There's a lot of ball-winning midfielders around at the moment. I think he would have to be retrained a little bit, but he could even play wing-back for us if the crossing was that a little bit better. I don't think I'd want to put him there, honestly, but he's 6 foot tall. He's just a good player in general, and for these kind of prices, you have to take the bids on them. 11 grand they went for. Just 11 grand. He did want a bit more cash, but there's also interest from other sides, like a lot of other sides, including SJK. So the last thing we need is a good player like him joining a club like them, when he could strengthen us potentially. Is still looking like a relatively solid player for us. If I can pick him up relatively cheap, I think just some more young Finnish options doesn't seem like too bad of a thing, other than the determination being low, especially as he basically didn't want any money. I mean, if he signs for us on £250 a week for 5 years, then that's a no-brainer. Right then, new boys are in. 6 of them to have a little look through, including the guy that was signed up before we got here. The fans seem to like a few of them, but we'll see what they're actually like. And we jump. Sauli Sordonen, I think he's okay. I think that we paid maybe a bit more than I would have liked to, but I just wanted to bring in some depth in that midfield and some young Finnish talent, and he maybe isn't exactly that in the end, and maybe we've overpaid, honestly, but, you know, you've got to take those risks. Look at all the PPMs, Jesus. Ebenezer Poker, of course, was the guy that was signed before we got here, so I don't know what we're going to do with you, unfortunately, Ebenezer. Abdul Kulibali, on the other hand, I think he's extremely good and is really going to strengthen us, except for the fact that he's got that absolutely ridiculous release clause in there, which hopefully we'll be able to get rid of as soon as possible, but I think he's a definite he just strengthens this team so damn much. He's not Terry Cloutey, but he does have some Cloutey-esque elements to him, particularly those physicals. The crossing isn't bad. Dribbling's solid as well. If we could get him with runs with ball more often as well, with that high dribbling, I think he could be an absolute menace down that left side, and I might get him on that straight away, honestly. Felix Lehtinen, again, not entirely sure about him, but he's in nevertheless. Mohamed Griota, I actually quite like him. I think he's one for the future, certainly not one for now, but we've got, you know, a decent player there, I suspect. Just not quite sure what role to try and train him in. And last but not least, of course, Austin Matthew, the Nigerian international. Him, I just think he's great. I really, really like this guy. I think he's the most expensive of the African signings, that's for sure. I think he's an excellent player, and he'll definitely get straight into our first team. So we've definitely got a lot stronger in this period, that is for sure. We've barely spent that much money in the grand scheme of things. Most of the big money has gone on a few Finnish signings. Doesn't mean we can't look for some more as well. And I think on the right-hand side, we do still have the quality of Curia. I think he's way better than that, and he'll be our starter for us. Of course, Kulibali on the left. If we could get that guy from Adams, I think his name is, the guy that HJK are interested in as well, that would be lovely. Contreras, they wanted £6 million for us to loan him for a season. He has a value of £3 million, and Dortmund are currently having a bid on him of £2.8 million. But when they had him listed for loan, they wanted £6 million to loan him for 1 season. Seriously, club loans are so busted, man, including trying to get your own players loans. But I have a video coming out about that, hopefully later in the week. I would like to try and pick up a better goalkeeper. I like Boateng, but if we could get that other keeper I was looking at earlier, which I think we will be able to now that we've got the cash available, he might be a bit of a splash, but I think he could be worth it. I think he makes a big difference, and I think we might try and go into him next. And here he is, Jean-Christian Kante of Abidjan in the Ivory Coast. Aerial reach, the reflexes, one-on-ones aren't brilliant, but he's got low eccentricity, some nice, good decisions too, which is kind of nice. Kicking's not spectacular, but but I think if he's cheap enough, he might be the perfect goalkeeper to lead us forward. I swear he was £600,000 before, and now it's 240. At 240, I'm doing that. Man actually wants quite a lot, and this could be quite difficult to do. Oh my days. I don't think we're actually going to be able to sign him. I've managed to move some money around to see if this works. Okay, it has. It's still quite a lot, but I think he's a star goalkeeper, hopefully. We're getting Jody Kalala as well. So we're just about to play our first competitive match of the season in the Finnish Cup with the qualifying group and whatnot. Quick note, last time I managed in Finland, I accidentally registered my entire first team and cup-tied them to my B team, who were also playing in the same cup as us. Note to self, don't do that this time. It's the first proper game of the season and an absolutely brilliant performance in the cup. Genuinely. 2-0, Afonso and Ayew with the goals. But Traore was just constantly stretching defences, making runs in behind. I've swapped the striker roles over so he's on his comfortable foot. Kulibali looked outrageous at left wing back. He was just, again, the pace and raw quality of these players now. Rushi came off the bench, did well. Carolina was looking excellent. He's really grown over the off period. Afonso looks really nice up front. I think we've got a much, much better team. And I still think with a couple of guys, if we get the goalkeeper and Adams, then this team could be in a really strong spot to challenge for some stuff this year. I really think so. But still 4 more games to go in this group, of course. But it'd be nice to qualify, get some of these guys some football before the league starts. Boom. Mohamed Adams is in. I think he's an excellent player and it's really going to make this team that little bit stronger on slightly larger wages, but it was to be expected. And Kante obviously becomes the highest paid player at the club, but I think he's a really, really strong goalkeeper and I'm excited to have him on board as well. I think we've done some seriously good business. We've still got some money if I do find any more, but I wouldn't really want to shop outside of Finland for any more players at this point because I think we've strengthened this squad dramatically. But if we could just add a couple of really talented Finns with what money we've got left, maybe that's our next best bet. But as you can see, the money is quite depleted at this point, so it would need to be a seriously talented player to make me move that last bit of cash. It's always nice to have a bit left over. So away at SJK in the cup, a pretty unfortunate draw, honestly, conceded in the first minute from Serge Drogba, who apparently is Didier Drogba's son, which is kind of sick. I think he is anyway. He's a regen and I'm an idiot. We then equalised from the spot and really kind of dominated them for the rest of the game, but that should show you something. These guys are the reigning champions and we've played like this on their patch. I think we're in good shape this year. Well, we just look better and better. Adams, Matthew, Zakiri, and then a late one from Vassanen off the bench too to really compound the victory for us. But this team is playing some beautiful football at the moment and really looking exciting. Kyriainen has this wonderful ability because he's got such high acceleration that when he goes one-on-one with someone, he takes one touch and he's just past them and it's so good for him getting chances for crosses. It works so well. This is how the cup's shaping up so far. We've got 7 points on the board so far, looking very, very good for qualification and hopefully we can go on and win the group now because we've already had the toughest game. Honka might be difficult, but I think we might be at home. Another day, another win in the cup. Relatively straightforward again. Matthew with the goal and then 2 for Gabriel Ayew. The central midfielders absolutely ran the show in this one. It does sort of come back to what I was saying when we first saw Gabriel Ayew, that he was a striker for now, but he'd be much better suited to being a central midfielder, and I think this is really showing it given the way he's started this season playing in centre mid. He was been fantastic today. Traore didn't really get a lot of to feed on, unfortunately. They were so compact, but I think against better sides he's going to stretch so many defences, and Miller still had a good time as well, which was lovely. For bugger's sake. So it turns out that Emmanuel Oppong had a release clause that I didn't know about because we'd never had any bids on him up to this point, and it's just been immediately triggered by Halmstad. I don't really want to lose Emmanuel Oppong. I'm going to try and offer him a new contract, which he would be interested in. Okay, we might be able to get him through this then, potentially. Oh, except he wants 3k a week, which I literally can't offer. I managed to get him on 2.4, and I feel like he would honestly be worth it because he's such a good midfielder. There is a release clause in there again of $1 million, but it's a lot better than 250 grand. We've got to try it. I think he'll still go, but it's worth a try. Well, I'll be damned. He actually agreed to the new contract. I don't know if I almost... Well, I mean, I think I'd rather have that than lose him. It is quite a lot of cash, but at least it pushes the release clause to £1 million now. Well, unfortunately, we got our first defeat of the season away at FC Honka. Just didn't really turn up in the way that we have done lately. Honka did a very good job here. Adamu got basically a free tap-in, and Kante still had to make a lot of saves in this game, but he's looked really, really strong. One thing I would say is in the second half, I switched our striker roles back over to how they originally were, with the striker on the left-hand side and the DLF on the other, and you can see that in the second half we got a lot better in this game. And I do wonder if, despite the fact that the system is entirely symmetrical and therefore it shouldn't matter which side the strikers are on because they're the only part that would change, it does feel like that for whatever reason, no matter what foot they're on, the advanced forward being on the left-hand side seems to just create more chances. I don't know why that is, considering the rest of the team is, as I said, completely symmetrical. It could be to do with the footedness of the players throughout the rest of the team, but it just feels like you get more chances for Traore, or whoever the striker is, if they're playing on the left of that. Now, he didn't take the chances in the second half, but he got them in the first place. So I think I might revert back to that for this season and see what he can do there, because Vassanen was just getting chance after chance last year. And I'm hoping that Traore can finally grab his first goal for us in a competitive match and kind of build on that, or otherwise it could be Rafa Valencia times 1,000. But it needn't matter. We still came second in the group. We managed to get a draw away at HJK. We did lose against FC Honka, but we managed to win our other matches in there too. And I still think we look very, very good. And I think with the right changes and with the right players coming back, I think this side is really, really primed and ready to go for this season. I don't think there's any room for any more transfers, really. I think this squad is pretty much maxed out at the moment as to what we can do, but I think we've built a team that could get in that top 3 this season, and not just get in that top 3, but I think we can hopefully try to keep pace with the likes of SJK and HJK. Maybe not quite, and maybe fall a little bit short towards the end, but I suspect that 3rd place is very much on the cards this year, and I think we can really give teams a run for their money, and hopefully get lots and lots of goals to go with it. And obviously there's Europe much, much later down the line. And we have still done quite a bit of business over the course of this. Obviously with the 2 guys joining us last year, that's still a big chunk of players that we brought in, spending around £500,000 on the bunch as well. I also sold a man called Jonathan Wakaso to Kalmar for nearly 200,000 quid with a 50% clause as well. So that's offset like half of that spending too. So I think that we're in a good spot right now. I don't think we've spent over the top. I think we've spent money in the right areas. I think it's going to be a very, very fun season. But obviously the league itself is still like a full month away. There's a lot more friendlies in there, but there's no more competitive stuff now. And I don't think we're really going to be doing any more transfer business. So this feels like a perfect place for us to stop here and come back next time around with the first league matches of the season and get a really nice chunk of the league, like a good 1/3 of it done in the next video. That's my plan. Finland doesn't have that many games in the league really, so you can get through it quite quickly. And it just so happens that our opening day of the season fixture is away against HJK. You couldn't really ask for a more perfect start to the season in terms of if we came up with something there, it could shock this league, but it's also going to require us to make sure that we've got everybody on their best behavior and best quality. Now, how these guys that we've signed, because a lot of them are non-Finnish, are going to get into this team, I don't know. We'll have to sort of figure that out at the time. It's really hard to tell at this point, but I'm still looking forward to seeing how they all slot in. And if nothing else, this squad has now got a lot of depth to it, and depth is so damn important. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Traore can do. I still think he's going to really flourish for us this season, but maybe I'll be wrong about him and he'll miss every single chance, and we'll have a whole year of going, oh, not again, Maget. But there you go. So if you have enjoyed this episode and you're looking forward to our first full season in Finland and seeing what we can do, drop a like on the video. That would be magnificent. Subscribe if you're new. I stream on Twitch Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, so go follow there too, and I'll see you guys soon. Hold your gun, Capybara. Bye-bye.